Good evening, everyone, and hello from the sunshine state of Florida, where it has been a cool and comfortable 94, 5, 6, 7, 8 degrees with high humidity. So it certainly makes me appreciate well-functioning air conditioning in the hotel. So tonight's, actually, as I continue in my short series of short videos answering the most burning questions, I always find it interesting when many clients, some clients, several clients, or prospects or folks I see at social events all ask about the same questions. That's certainly been the case over the last week or so regarding the R word, which is recession. So I'm going to spend a few minutes tonight talking about that. As always, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up on YouTube. If you have questions, comments, concerns, want to push back, want to have some conversation about what my comments, feel free to, you can certainly email me. You can call me in the office. I shall be back. Probably by the time you get this video, I'll be back up north. And you're always welcome to stop by. We've got plenty of water, soda, pistachio nuts, macadamia nuts, zone protein bars in the office. So with that, let me dive right in. Tonight's topic is recession. First, I want to debunk or dispel the great myth about recession, and that is in the United States, I guess the textbook, air quotes, the textbook definition of recession, most people think it's back-to-back quarters of negative GDP growth. So the economy contracts, gets smaller one quarter, and then at least one other quarter back to back. That's what certainly the media and a bunch of the paid actors on TV call recession. But that's not the case. And that's not how modern day recessions are defined. You can agree, you can disagree. It's certainly up to you. But the NBER, Nancy, Boy, Edward, Roger, National Bureau of Economic Research, they determine when a recession starts and when a recession ends. And so before I get comments about that it's politically based and partisan, it's not. It's a bunch of academics. If my memory is right, and I didn't do my homework, so I apologize, I think it's Martin Feldstein is now the head of it, but I could be wrong. So don't send me comments and quotes and at me on Twitter that I didn't do my homework. I didn't, but I think that's his shop. And they're not politically based. They have no motivation. I would guess they don't take donations from lobbying groups. Doesn't matter. The NBER determines normally late if a recession began and when a recession ends. It's as simple as that. Now, if you look at when they've previously declared recessions, they're certainly late. They don't declare them in real time. They're late in calling them, and they typically say they started a while ago. But my judgment is that they use, or they have a heavy weight on the jobs market, on the employment market, which we're going to see the June employment report out this Friday, which will be weaker, my view, a lot weaker than it's been, but still strong in the context of what the jobs market is. So we're still going to, we should see, I don't know, 150 to 300,000 new jobs created in June. That probably gives me a bunch of wiggle room there. I'm getting off track. Let's go back. So that's who determines a recession. A lot of folks who have direct exposure or ties to certain parts of the economy will feel it earlier or later. So I was sitting with one of my closest friends over the weekend, and he's more in the manufacturing end and the plumbing side, mostly commercial. So he normally sees that end. He sees the downturn usually in a normal recession before, let's say, folks who are in the more consumer space. And his comment was he believes we are in or about to be in recession but he has not seen the softness in his business yet, contrary to prior times. So that's where we are. I think because inflation has been so high and stubborn, consumer sentiment, which I should probably touch on, I won't do it now. Consumer sentiment is the worst it's been in history. It's worse now than it was during COVID, March 2020. It's worse now than during the great financial crisis of 07 to 09. It's worse than it was during Enron, 9/11, the dot-com bubble, Iraq invading Kuwait, stock market crash to 87, et cetera. This is the worst consumer sentiment's been ever. And that's because I think inflation has been so stubbornly high. So I think a lot of people believe, well, that should lead to recession, and it very well may, but I don't think a lot of those people see it and feel it now. What I want to do is I made a couple of slides, so I'm going to share my screen and we're going to talk about them. If I do this correctly. Yes. So first, so you can keep track of me, because I like to be accountable, not only to clients, but to viewers who spend time with me. I said coming into the year, there would not be a recession in 2022. I wrote that in my forecast for the year, and I've said it multiple times since. And up until maybe 3 weeks ago, I felt pretty confident in that forecast that we would not have recession. Last 3 weeks, some of the data have weakened more so than I thought they would so earlier in the year, because it was June. So I would say the likelihood of recession, certainly from my seat in the last 3 weeks, has increased. But I'll say this: if I am wrong, and we do have recession this year, which the likelihood is increasing, to be fair, then I will say, unless there's a shock from the outside, it's going to be a mild recession. And so why did I pull up a chart of 1980? There are two periods I want to just show you. The first one is 1980. So if you remember, we had an election in 1980. Reagan beat Jimmy Carter. Paul Volcker came into the Fed. I think if my memory is right, again, I didn't pull up the date, but I think he came in late 79, early 80, and he pledged to get rid of inflation. So you can see, I think you can see my arrow. The stock market declined sharply, about 22% in early 1980. That was also the Hunt Silver Massacre. For those of you guys who remember, when the Hunt brothers tried to corner the silver market, it's amazing what ego does to you. In any case, so that's a topic for another day as well. So in early 1980, Volcker starts raising rates. Stock market, Hunt Silver Massacre, stock market goes down 22%. Similar to what it's done this year. S&P was down 23, I think, at the worst. NASDAQ much more in the mid 35, 36. But let's just focus on the S&P. So in hindsight, they declared the recession began in January of 1980, and the recession ended, they declared it, in July of 1980. The stock market declined in the middle of the recession, very unusually so, because it normally happens well before recession. And then by the time the recession ended, the stock market had already recovered everything it lost during the recession, and it was already in rally mode, and it was well on its way. So that's the first one. And I think that is a model to look at, because, again, Volcker came in and said, I'm going to beat inflation, WIN pins, whip inflation now. And there was a mild 6-month recession. A lot of people I've spoken, no, that's not true, because I didn't speak to a lot of people. Some folks I've spoke to who, like my dad, when he was alive, I used to ask him questions about how is this period? So those people said in 1980, a lot of folks didn't even know we were in recession because they'd been through so many oil shocks in the 70s that felt and were worse for them personally. So that's one. mild recession, early 80s, early 1980. And let me change, now I'm back. Let me change to my other slide. And here is the post 9/11, what I call the 9/11 recession. So the stock market peaked in easy for me to say, in March of 2000, declined, and then its secondary peak, almost the same level, was in September of 2000. The dot-com bubble had already burst, and even though the NASDAQ was down roughly 40%, obviously compared to today when it was down 36, the Fed was full steam ahead raising rates in the face of the speculation being taken right out of the stock market. In any case, long before the recession began, you will see the stock market from roughly 1,500 decline to roughly 1,100, and that was more than 20%, very similar to today. The NBER declared the recession began in March of 2001, and it ended in November of 2001. The post 9/11 recession was so mild, except for the stock market, where almost everyone was hurt. The people who were really hurt the most, if you were in travel and leisure, right after 9/11, your business just stopped. People stopped traveling. It was pretty bad if you were in travel and leisure. But a lot of other things in the country, you barely noticed there was recession. So, and here, they officially began recession here. And when they declared it over, the market was only a tiny bit lower, but it did a lot of its work before the recession. And certainly you could argue, which I have for years, that if 9/11 didn't happen, this period right here, this collapse, that was 9/11 driven. So I think you would have declined a lot less, probably at least 100 to 150 S&P points less. I think you would have declined to roughly 1050, 1075 right in here. This swoosh down and recovery wouldn't have been there. And then we would have kind of started on our merry way again. So that is the second mild recession since 1980. And I think both those are decent models for today. Again, if we're going to have recession, and it's sooner than I thought, because I thought 2023 was a likely target for a recession. But if I'm wrong and it comes sooner, so be it. Look, the stock market's already down from high to low, then S&P 22, 23%. In your average mild recession, the stock market goes down about 23%. So if there is a mild recession, the market's done most, if not all, of the work already. Let me stop sharing this screen. Okay, so let me sum up. NBER declares recessions, not back-to-back quarters of negative GDP growth. If we have recession this year, I feel strongly that it's going to be very mild. And so contrary to 2001, where the travel industry was just decimated, the travel industry may be the one of the bright spots now. And it'll be a different part. I think it's going to be super key. I said this at dinner with clients, an hour ago. I think if there is recession in the now, maybe that's starting maybe in second, third quarter of the year, it's going to be technology based. And I don't believe we've seen one of those, from memory, I can't recall, where tech has been hit the worst. Earnings season begins next week. It would be interesting if the technology companies start to announce layoffs now, with coinciding with their earnings reports. I don't know that, but I'm speculating. Zuckerberg at Facebook, now Meta, opened the door when he said, I paraphrase, "We have too many people working here." And that, to me, was a pretty good shot across the bow that Facebook Meta may be laying some folks off. If they do, it's only a matter of time before other people in Silicon Valley follow suit. So maybe if there's some kind of economic soft patch weaker than I thought earlier in this year, it begins with technology. It's certainly a plausible and rational outcome going forward. So I think that's all I wanted to cover. I've got a number of more questions coming that I'm going to answer here, which I say the most burning questions on people's minds. But recession is a big one. And the wealth effect, I guess I'll close with this. The wealth effect, which the Fed views as likely as powerful as any economic tool in the economic toolkit, is higher asset prices in your house, your 401k, your investments. So as you see the value of your house go up, as you see the value of your investments go up, you feel better and you're willing to spend more money. That's called the wealth effect. Alan Greenspan made it popular. So we already know that the markets are down. S&P, we discussed S&P and NASDAQ. The bond market has seen its largest and longest decline since records have been kept. So those both are weighing on people for sure. And if you spoke with me lately, you know my feeling that housing peaked too, and housing is on the way down. Not in Florida. Florida is its own oasis for now, but in, let's say, 47 other states overall. So the wealth effect certainly can lead to consumers. So you think about it, the markets go down, people feel poor. You see your 401ks. I'm not gonna make those stupid jokes like your 401k is a 301k or a 101, whatever, that doesn't matter. But you see, and people are addicted to Zillow. See, their house went from 400,000 to 350. The refinance market's dead. So the wealth effect, along with inflation, has really taken its toll on consumers. And psychology is a powerful tool when it comes to spending. So that's where I sit on recession. I will leave you with one final statement. If, that's a big if recession does not come in the next 9 months, I'll give myself a little more wiggle room than I wanted to originally. But if there's no recession in the next 9 months, I feel so strongly the Dow is going to rip to 40,000, 40,000 in 2023. We will go up 30+% on the S&P and more in the NASDAQ. That's my view if there is no recession. So next time we'll talk about my different scenarios and where I think stocks are going. But again, if you like it, please give me a thumbs up on YouTube, and you're always welcome to call, email, or stop by to have a discussion about anything I've covered here. Hope you're well. Hope you had a good, safe, and fun July 4th, and I will be back soon. Bye-bye.